All right, on today's episode, we'll be covering we've been living in a managed reality. Is the simulation real? All right, I got a video here. Let's pull this up and watch it.
This is going to rip a hole in your brain that you cannot plug. This is going to rip a hole in your brain that you cannot plug.
Okay.
It's going to permanently change the way that you see stuff.
Are you prepared? I feel like I already do this, so I'm a little more prepared. You are too.
I think so.
There's so many symbols and signs that human beings are experiencing a simulation of reality. These simulations are not just mediations of reality, and they're not even descriptive mediations of reality. They're not based in reality at all.
I've seen this guy before, actually. He looks familiar to me for some reason.
He's been doing the rounds on the podcast. He's been on a couple of them. Sean Ryan or Danny Jones.
This is your everyday life. This is your life. The shirt you're wearing right now. The room that you're sitting in. The boundary between real and something that's unreal has been permanently blurred, as in we cannot go back.
Okay.
We cannot return to the original.
I wish somebody would do scissors like that for the beginning of my video for me. Drop the fat bass and all, you know.
Oh, that bass is sweet.
Hey, I got one too.
We got this incredible book called Simulacra and Simulation. My favorite quote: "We live in a world where there is more and more information and less meaning." Have you really just ever felt like your brain is constantly being hit with facts and updates and opinions, but none of it really sticks?
You know, I feel very differently because I'm older than the internet. So like there was a time when we had a black and white TV in my house. So like it was very basic. And now it's like in the morning, it's just I receive all this news, and it's way different now.
Our world of endless content. Real meaning gets lost in that noise. Baudrillard saw this coming a long time ago, and it sounds crazy. Shouldn't more knowledge, access to news and history and science make everybody smarter and better informed?
No, actually, I think it makes them more numb and less informed.
I think that's what we're finding out quickly. Yeah.
Because there's so much of it. So what is prioritized as like the valuable information as opposed to like the junk or even the middle, the indifferent, you know?
You're right. It's almost overwhelming to the mind, really. It's so much information and we just don't know what to do with it. So you're right. We've just become numb.
Yeah, I kind of knew who I was before the internet, but there's a lot of people that grew up with it and with a phone in their hands and Google search and images and all this other stuff. So that's a very different worldview, you know?
Baudrillard's answer is kind of tucked away inside this collapse of the real into the simulation. One of Baudrillard's biggest ideas is that we're no longer dealing with reality. We're dealing with simulacra. And when he talks about simulacra, these are copies of a world that doesn't exist anymore.
Simulacra, I guess this is one of his key words that he's stressing from this professor. I don't remember his name.
Everything kind of refers to something else. So in the past, a picture captured of a moment of real life, but now the photos that we take are filtered or AI generated or staged just for social media. They're not records of reality. They're designed representations of how reality should look.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Like, you know, if you see someone at a restaurant and they're taking all these pictures, they only will submit or post their best angle, their view, the thing that made it look the coolest. But that whole night, if you're there for 6 hours, that doesn't match those 6 hours.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Catch anyone in a photo mid-sentence, and I'll guarantee, like, some of our public figures get caught like this, right? They look terrible. Catch, in the middle of a word or something.
It's so funny you say that because a lot of times, I watch YouTube Premium. That's mainly how I watch a lot of stuff. And that means no commercials. So I'm scrubbing through videos all the time. And you're so right. They look all jacked up when they're talking. They look like they're crazy.
Yeah, right? Like, it's crazy how it looks. Yeah.
Oh, God. That's kind of funny. I thought I was the only one who thought about that.
Oh, no, no,
A painting of a
I'm with you.
king used to.
Hey, there's King Louis, and he is the
There he is,
what
that's
is
right.
is he the 10? Is it backwards?
Oh, he's
16?
the 14th, the
Oh,
famous "L'état c'est moi."
yep.
Yeah, I am the state. He referred to himself, and some say the groundwork of the French Revolution in his reign.
Interesting.
To refer to an actual monarch. And a king nowadays is an emoji, refers to no one. It refers to an idea. It's a simulation of something that cannot point to what it's referencing. A hyperreal world does not distinguish between a war where people are getting killed and a viral TikTok dance.
Gotcha.
Both of those.
It all becomes content. It all becomes
Yeah.
just it's all like movies, I guess. It's like a chapter or a scene of a movie.
Right.
You know?
That's just an interesting, summary. He's got an interesting summary of what's going on so far. This is fascinating.
I can't tell you how many times like I watch news, and at night I don't go out late anymore. I stay in my house. I'm I like safety.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I watch some stuff and I'll go to bed and I'm like, man, I hope the world's still here when I wake up in the morning, because it just seems so catastrophic. And then I go to work and all, the big stuff, the big headlines, I'm like, well, nobody's even talking about it. It isn't even like on their radar.
You're right. I mean, we're lucky in our, you and I guess, in our daily lives, and I hope most of the people we know, it is pretty mundane. We go to work, we come back, we're able to watch TV, eat dinner, 3 square a day,
Yeah.
2 square a day, depending on your diet. But it's just, like, you get all this content, and you do. Like, I've done the same thing. I'll read news right when I wake up or right before I go to bed, and I'll think, man, the world is falling apart at the seams. We're doomed.
Yeah.
Russia just ran some special nuclear test.
Yeah.
For reference, it's about what's today, late October 2025. It's just like, my goodness, the world's gonna end.
Yeah.
But then, thank goodness we wake up and we continue.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like I wake up and sirens are going off and
Right. Yeah.
people are
right?
burning their chairs for heat and all that, and I don't know.
Exist as content, and meaning becomes flattened. If a memory of an event is shaped entirely by news clips and social media, do we even need the event itself anymore? What should seriously terrify you is that we're already at a certain point where it doesn't even matter if something is real. It only matters if it feels real.
Simulation is a process that begins with a model that generates a sign or a symbol that's meant to represent reality. So as the process of simulation advances, these signs lose their connection with the original thing that they were meant to represent. The signs take on their own life. They become what's called simulacra. They're copies that have no original. It's a simulation of itself.
Okay.
There's 4 levels of simulacra. This is a faithful, or what you would call true, copy, where the representation is clearly an artifact of a real and unblemished original. So this is a perversion of reality here. So either intentionally or unintentionally, we're distorting the image of the original. They still have a link to the original, but it's been changed. These mask the absence of a profound reality, and they create a facade that looks real or natural, but it's not tied to any original form. These have no relation to reality at all. They are their own, what he calls simulacrum. Here, this line between like real world and the world of simulacrum becomes indistinguishable. You cannot tell the difference between 4th order simulacrum and reality.
Okay, that's very interesting. Simulacra.
The simulacra.
Have to-
That is wild.
I'll have to add that to my vocabulary. I didn't have that one. I just got what did I get recently? Nihilistic,
Yeah. Good one.
and entropy.
Entropy's another one. Yeah. that's
Worldview is something I understand. So
There's a
simulacra.
fascinating story in the book. It's about this tribe called the Ifuago people. When the ethnologists first set foot in this Ifuago territory, they were just captivated by their social systems and these intricate rituals. And the scientists came to document the authentic Ifuago way of life. But here's where things get really interesting.
Rituals are pretty cool. I always thought of them from video games as a demonic thing, but I think rituals take the local culture and they celebrate something together in unity, therefore connecting their consciousness, their mindfulness, their thoughts, and their actions. And, maybe that's how they can quote, control the weather. Maybe that's how they can elevate the vibe of the tribe or the village by thinking on positive things, or building a dam together or building houses together. It's
it gives a sense of community, unity of purpose, some cooperative nature to it. It, like you said, it's perfect. It raises the vibe of the whole group.
Yep.
Rituals are important. They're like it reinforces the culture. This is who we are.
Yeah.
It almost has story in it. This is how we got here.
And certainly when it passes down, and the great grandfather's garb that he would wear is passed down to someone else, the word of mouth of the story, the word of mouth of the culture, they and who they are as a culture.
As the Ifwago people became more and more aware that they were being observed, they started to act a little different. The rituals became way more elaborate and started changing and modifying themselves. And they started wearing a lot more traditional clothing a lot more often. So the tribespeople were now performers, acting out.
It became a performance. It became a production, kind of like a Broadway musical or something. Maybe something that is more simplistic. Starts to take on all of that. I guess it's for people started to pay, or maybe there was some monetary gain behind it,
It's interesting too, because it's like that observer effect. They say the observer can affect what he or she is observing in some way. So how accurate is that observation? If it just happened on its own and it what's being observed didn't know you were watching it, would it still act the same way? In this case, because they're people too, obviously, and people kind of know when they're being watched.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
It did have an effect.
Well, even
now what was once a ritual became a production, like you said.
Most kids really like to be watched. They're just like, watch me, and they get super excited, So
You're
it does
right.
kind of change the vibe. It's I guess this is a pretty good example. So Hollywood actors, I don't care for them as much as I used to. I used to think they were like the coolest, right? But like Al Pacino is such a caricature of himself at this point. Like, does anyone know who he is? If you meet him, you're just going to start to do an impression of him to him. And then like, he's not like that all the time. It's an air he puts on. But it's like, he must, like, after a while, he's probably like, oh, I get it. Like, you're doing me, but that's not really me,
Is he today that fourth level simulacrum in a way?
He's part of it.
Fourth level simulation where his characters become, like you say, that's well said, a caricature of, I don't even know how he'd sound normally, because all I hear is him like screaming about justice or or something like that.
Yeah. So it's kind of performative.
An idealized version of your culture to the scientists.
So interesting.
So all of these works that they put were published around the world. So over time, the Ifwago tribe themselves started referring to these academic texts to understand their own traditions.
Okay.
So new generations that are now influenced by these published works adopted these documented customs as the new standard of culture. The line between real and represented was gone. Let me give you another example here of this fourth order simulacrum.
Walmart. Okay.
How is Walmart a simulation? It's this giant sprawling space. It offers everything that you want: medicine, hairspray, clothing, groceries, whatever it is. It's not just a supermarket. It's what this book refers to as a hypermarket. Everything becomes a sign. Everything's a representation of something else. The produce is clean, it's uniform, it almost appears artificial. You go to a farmer's market, vegetables don't look like that. So what's natural is made into something simulated to reconstruct our expectations. But why do we have that expectation?
Okay.
Because we
All right, so we're getting into expectations here, which is it's a good take on it.
Saw it in the media, which was a simulation of that thing.
Oh yeah, it starts to
Let's go to Disneyland.
loop in a way. That's fascinating.
It's not just an amusement park, it's a super intensified
world.
simulation of aspects of the world that we inhabit. In their bluntness, as an overt space of fantasy and commerce, it becomes more honest than the outside world that pretends to be real. So Disney World serves to camouflage that the rest of the world is also a stage. It's also artificial.
Okay, I get it.
I get it. That is really cool. That's a really cool. He did kind of blow a hole in my mind with this. That's really neat.
I get it. I understand it. If I was to reinterpret it, I probably would be a little bit off. But I understand like the sensationalism of things is a performative art. Like going into a Walmart and having the same expectation of the section that has the food and it's placed in a certain level at a certain height, and the vegetables are going to be here, but like that's not how. There's a lot of work behind harvesting vegetables. There's a lot of dirt. There's a lot of grime. There's a lot of. The expectation is it's just always readily available. It's just always going to be cut and manicured, and it's like you said with Disney World, it's like a fabricated a fantasy world that is a reflection of our everyday world, you know?
It's true. Yeah. It's like kind of an example that I have that I remember regarding the fruit. The apples in the States and the US are big and plump and red.
Red.
They're very red.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, they're like magnificent. You go to maybe another country, I'll take Russia as an example. They weren't red. Now, it still tasted like an apple. It was an apple. There was nothing done to it. It was perfectly normal, but it didn't have that red. So at first, if I came from the States there, I remember the surprise of some of my fellow students, my fellow American students.
Sure.
At the time. That apple doesn't look quite right. You know, it's like, no, I'd be like, no, it's an apple for real. But there was that moment of like their expectation wasn't met because it's this self-reinforcing loop of I see the big red plump modified apple. I expect therefore all apples to look like that.
Yeah.
This apple doesn't look like that. It's not real. When in fact that real apple, it is the real one, and the red one is the simulated.
It is
such a weird,
sensationalized version of an apple. You know,
it's like super apple.
Yeah, super apple. So I guess if your context is super apple, then you go see like
apple. Normal apple.
Like not an ultra red apple. You're just like, well, that's not an apple. You're like, it is. I promise.
This is so interesting, though.
If you ask a random person to draw a picture of a princess, what will they draw?
Oh. Yeah.
That's our definition of real. That's in your
like a really pretty long hair, rich,
long hair.
Obviously rich.
Yeah.
Gonna marry somebody who's really handsome.
Wealthy,
head,
right?
You define what a princess is based on a simulation. The simulation takes over around age 2 or 3. So the hyper real becomes more important than things that are actually real.
Huh. The hyper real becomes more important than the things that are actually real. Yeah, okay.
Think of your social media profile right now. It's supposed to be a reflection of you, but
I'm gonna put this in there real quick. I don't have social media per se where I have my real name and I'm on there like putting pictures of what I eat for dinner and what car I drive. Like I'm like White Star. I'm a Medible podcast. I'm a more abstract version of myself, and it gives me this. I think anonymity is the correct word to express myself. I like this barrier between, my production, myself, and my thoughts, because I don't feel comfortable with this, my whole name and me connected to everything I put on the internet, because I don't have my mind is open. I'm in a phase of my life where I'm taking in information and I'm building a better worldview because I'm not partial to anything, so to me it seems silly to go on there and be like, oh, look how great my meal was at this fancy dinner and here's me doing this. I'm like, I don't enjoy doing that.
You're better for it in a way. I used to have social media accounts on many platforms. If someone wants to do the research, you'll see Comrade X out there perhaps, or what's left of them anyway. What's funny though is I only liked them when they were fun, and I categorize that time as when I was able to connect with friends that I thought I lost touch with in, expats in Japan, or friends from Russia, or friends from South Korea, even, who I stayed in touch with for a while. Once they started becoming too simulated, I thoroughly lost interest.
Gotcha.
And they're all gone. Now, like you, I prefer this. This will work.
Yeah, I like this.
This is this is like my version of being Disney World. The comrade here is, yes, a full-on simulated version of myself.
Yeah.
But it's an honest simulation. Also reflecting the fact that perhaps the real world out there, as this video is saying, is more simulated than we care to admit.
Yeah, it's for me. It's like a stage name. It's a performance in a way. Like this character I can be on here. I mold them. I work on them. It's not fake. Yeah. It's just more. It's more freedom in it this way.
That's how I feel too. There's elements of me, obviously, within the comrade that are very real. They're true to myself. I'm true to myself, and the opinions expressed here are generally mine.
Yeah.
But comrade is a piece of who I am. But yeah, you're right. It gives me more freedom to express myself here on the internet, like you.
And but it's also a way for me to dip the toe in to this world that he is speaking of, this simulation, because I do often look at myself as anymore as I am kind of like an avatar. Some days I walk around, I'm like, well, here I am. Plus,
I feel you, man.
I also have a long history of being a very digital person. Like I play a lot of video games, so a lot of my awesome experiences I've had many in video games were real, but like I'm not going around leveling up and like fighting a monster to go get a treasure chest that gives me some ability, and then I meet some cool new event like a companion who has a big old gun and like can do cool stuff, and but I've had a lot of those moments, and they've all been digital. So I'm really trying to find the different. I try to be grounded in reality, but I do also understand I have a tendency to isolate and go into fake worlds. It's weird.
Hey, it's fair. Well, the mind plays tricks on us, but also sometimes I think there's an element of health. There's nothing wrong with going into a fake world or even a fantasy, knowing full well where. What reality is, I guess, or as best we can get a handle on it. We know what we're doing when we do that. So it's like, I think it's healthy to do that now and again.
Well, I did it because
your mind.
I wasn't powerful as a child, and I wasn't in control. And there was a lot of times when perhaps I did have anxiety, I did have depression, and then I would go to these places and feel powerful and execute on that. And I really like those kind of games that you get those instant gratification. So some of those arcade games that you play, your every move is you get an instant reaction, you get an instant result. So like, especially the cool like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle arcade games, the X-Men arcade game, like the sound, the feel, you're constantly every second getting some sort of feedback on your exchange.
Oh yeah. It makes I used to have a very vivid imagination as a child. I remember, and I think some of that is for me, it was like an escapism too. I didn't feel powerful, right? I was a small child. I had a good family and everything, so there's no issue there. But there's still an element of that escapism where I was like, I wanted to make my own little world,
And you did.
I did.
You did.
I had characters and the whole nine yards.
Yeah.
It was it was a fun little world,
Yeah.
I could still probably
there was
some of them.
And some of those worlds were quite large. They were my
yes.
It's funny to think that like while I was doing this, like I was playing PlayStation games or Xbox games or whatever, that other people were doing the same thing by going and watching someone play baseball and sitting in a stand and talking to somebody being like, look how great he is, blah blah, his stats are so da 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 da, and they're doing the same thing too, but it's like you're watching it physical, I'm doing it digital, but somehow they would be like, well, that's better because it's just like, I don't know what's better. I don't know.
It's hard to say. It is neat though, because it's like I felt like too it was healthy because it reinforced all the curiosity I have about the world. Like, okay, I had this fantasy world, but there's an actual world going on too, and I wanted to learn about that, and I wanted to discover who I was too in this world. So it was like a safe place to try my character out.
Exactly.
Okay, let me bring it into the real world and see how others interact with this piece of myself. And if it's a good part of my personality, I'll keep it.
Yeah.
If it didn't work, okay, go back to the drawing board on that
Right.
one.
Well,
Throw it
sometimes
away, you know?
if it didn't
Fun
work
way,
in this
yeah.
particular situation, maybe it would work in this situation.
That's right. That's
know?
right. Yeah, it would require a few different tests, different situations. Absolutely, yeah. It's a lot of fun to kind of experiment. I still use my imagination today to do that in a way.
Sure.
The risk of sounding insane to some people. Yeah, it's fun and healthy. And yes, the baseball. I like that analogy because I like play like kind of fake baseball games with my nephew, and I really enjoy doing it because I'll take on this great baseball pitcher, and I have this joke about the character, and I'll pitch to him, and of course he hits the home run, and then I pretend to get all angry and storm home plate.
This is
this ridiculous nonsense.
This is a
yeah, like,
real world activity that you're doing.
this is a real world activity,
Okay.
yeah. So he and I are like I have this plushy baseball that I would throw, like I'd pitch the baseball to him, and then he would pretend to bat it, right? It was like a soft plushy thing, so we could do this indoors, right? So he'd hit it, and of course it would fly off, past the stairwell or whatever, and that would be the home run. So I'd pretend to try to tackle him, but I'd pretend to break all the rules and just go and pretend to tackle him, like as if you could do that in baseball, right?
Of course.
Get thrown out of the game. I mean, it's all this nonsense, right? But it's just a fun way of exploring the game itself, and then also
making a spectacle out of it, making it something.
make a real
fun.
spectacle out of it. Yeah, and he and I are both laughing because it's ridiculous.
That's really what it's all for.
Yeah,
is
it's just
the
for fun,
laughing.
right? It's
Well,
all the laughing and the.
I think this was a great video. It's getting a little long, so let's end the
too.
simulation and then just
Good
imagine
call.
we're having this conversation live and in person now. And after I edit it, I'll put it online, and then it will sit there as a moment of time of us two talking to each other. We will never have this combination of clothing on again. My beard will never be this length it truly is right now. Your beard stubble won't match.
My beard stubble won't match.
we
I might have less hair.
Yeah.
The next time you see me, so this might.
Who knows? Just a moment in time. Just a simulation
right,
within a
that's right.
simulation.
You're right, man. A representation of what we actually did.
Yeah. And with that, I guess we're going to end this one. So, bye-bye.